Good morning and welcome to the POOLBEG PHARMA PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Jeremy Skillington, CEO. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning as we announce our full year results this morning. And what I'll do for the next 30 minutes or so is I'll go through a presentation, 20-25 minutes, and leave some time at the end for Q&A. But as Lily said, we're happy to take questions offline as well. So again, I appreciate you joining us this morning. So as a reminder, I know a lot of you are familiar with POOLBEG, but we're a leading biopharma company specialized in infectious and other prevalent diseases. You may have noted in the last few months we've expanded beyond infectious diseases into oncology and diabetes, into metabolic diseases. So I'll speak to those later on. So again, exciting time for the company in particular. So we want to become a one-stop shop for pharma, seeking programs to in-license. So that's the business model. We'll develop programs through to human proof of concept and then partner with pharma for the later stage, more expensive clinical trials and then commercializations, obviously. So I just want to remind the attendees of the significant progress that we've made over the last 20 months since our IPO. But of course, that's a platform for building, continuing with the strong momentum as we move forward. I won't go through all of these in the interest of time, but just flagging that we've really invested heavily in artificial intelligence. We have a very unique data set of influenza and RSV data from human viral challenge studies, and we're having both of those analyzed by two leading AI companies. Influenza, we're partnered with Cytoreason in Israel, who you'll see later on have a number of pharma partners. And in New York, we're partnered with 13 Biotech looking at RSV. And again, we're coming towards the end of these collaborations. We're identifying targets and ultimately drugs to move into these diseases with significant unmet needs. We have built our pipeline over the last 20 months. We've been licensed 2 programs, one on respiratory viral infections and one on a bacterial vaccine against a disease called melioidosis. Again, it's pushing that forward, looking for partnering early and non-dilutive funding early. And on that vein, we were successful in achieving a 2.3 million grant award to push forward our oral vaccine delivery platform. And again, very exciting for the company, our lead program, ZeroOne. We've generated positive LPS challenge data. We announced towards the end of last year and more recently in a deeper dive in the data. So very excited about that program. Ultimately going to severe influenza next, but we have an oncology program as well where ZeroOne will have a role to play. So very excited about that program there. And again, branching out, as mentioned, metabolic diseases, oral GLP-1 is very attractive for the industry. And we've got a program of collaboration there to move that forward. We did reach into the US markets as well, launching the OTC QB market. And as of the end of December 2022, we have 16.2 million pounds in the bank. So again, we're in a strong cash positions in these kind of choppy waters times. I just want to flag that this does not include the 2.3 million grant award. That's a separate. So the 16.2 million is standalone, and the grant funding will come as we progress that program. So that's a little bit of a summary. I'll go through in detail now, a reminder of the business model where we identify high potential opportunities, bring them into POOLBEG, generate early major value inflection points. And to us, that's human validation, that's human clinical data. And that's certainly what pharma partners look for when they partner with companies such as POOLBEG. And then we will out-license. And that's our revenue generating model. We'll generate revenues from the upfronts and milestones and royalties, etc., from partnering these programs. Again, we'll reinvest these funds back into the pipeline. So to become, as you mentioned earlier on, that one-stop shop when it comes to partnering with pharma. I think what's key here as well is just to flag that we have been successful with non-dilutive funding, and we will continue that as a main focus of the company. We have applied for other grants in other spaces, again, which will extend our runway, adding to the 16.2 million we have, and then, as I say, revenue generation. So we see this as a portfolio approach. This is not a one product company, which again in itself can be very, very risky. We've got multiple shots on goal to move the programs forward. And again, as I say, we've got a terrific team internally and an external network of consultants who help us identify exciting opportunities, bring them in, we will develop them. I say that will help sustain, or create sustainable value over the future. Again, the team has been terrific. You've seen how much we've achieved and accomplished over the last 20 months. We will continue to do so now that we've built up a head of steam and have nice momentum moving forward. I do want to flag from a deal standpoint, it's important, as I say, that's a key part of the business model, how interested and excited pharma is to continue to invest in infectious diseases. At the bottom here, we flag a few deals that have occurred recently, where the likes of GSK acquiring Affinivax for their pneumococcal vaccine, primarily in their platform behind it, but $2.1 billion up front. So again, very exciting that there's large figures to be achieved in this space. Pfizer have been very active in the space on the back of their COVID-19 program. Bavarian Nordic as well, looking for vaccines, and I think an interesting one was acquiring vaccines from Emergent at $270 million up front. So again, we plan to be in that space as we move forward, and we do talk about we're in a very good spot now with data coming through from both ZeroOne and our AI programs to continue with our partnering discussions that have already been initiated. This is our pipeline as it stands today. Again, I did go top line level here, and we'll go into deeper details later on. But as you see, POOL001, the lead program for severe influenza, and more recently branching out into CAR T-cell companion therapy in oncology. And again, we have clean phase 1 data from previous studies, recently read out our LPS challenge study. So we know the drug works in an inflammatory situation in humans, which again adds significant value to the program. So we'll continue to talk to our pharma colleagues, pharma partners about partnering this asset in those spaces. 002 into broadly respiratory viral infections, and that can be both prophylactic and therapeutic, so given before an infection occurs and after. It's a very exciting program that, as I say, it's near clinical. We got some work to do to get that into the clinic testing. And then 003 in collaboration with University College Dublin, a little bit different, looking at bacterial infections. And this is a significant unmet need for a disease called melioidosis, where there's a 54% fatality rate, and there's nothing out there for that. So these are our products, but then we have a product platform. So coming out of these platforms, there will be multiple products in the future, again, as we kind of build out our pipeline and moving our programs forward into clinical testing. I mentioned the AI program in RSV. We've received novel drug targets and ultimately exciting drug candidates that we are now moving forward into lab-based validation this year. And secondly, Cytoreason, they're coming towards the end of the analysis of the influenza data set that we sent them, and expecting outputs in the very near future, Q2 this year, just around the corner. And again, moving that forward into the influenza setting. And then on the bottom, collaborating with AnaBio, we've got two separate collaborations there. One on the oral vaccine program we mentioned is funded essentially by the Irish government. 2.3 million grant funding raised to push that technology forward through a consortium. And then we're looking into the GLP-1 space, so the metabolic diseases space, orally delivered GLP-1, again, an exciting space to be in. And as you see later on, significant markets that we'll be targeting and addressing. And we have a few other assets as well. And we're always looking to build and in-license other programs as well as we move forward. Supplementing one program out license, we'll bring others in as well. So I'll spend a little bit of time on 001, again, our lead asset. Very exciting to have moved that forward. We now have some very keen and exciting human clinical data in the LPS challenge setting. So it's a small molecule immunomodulator, dampening the immune response, cytokine release syndrome, which again in several diseases can cause significant issues for patients. So in particular for us right now, we're looking at severe influenza. This will be viral agnostic. The virus triggers the immune response, so it doesn't matter what strain occurs every flu season. It's a small molecule, orally available, so shelf stable, ideal for stockpiling and pandemic preparedness. And for this setting of severe influenza, there's nothing else out there, so there's a large unmet need. And then oncology, a recent departure, we see CRS, cytokine release syndrome, occurs with patients who receive CAR T treatment. So we believe the P38 inhibitors can play a role there to block that. So we filed patents early this year and moving forward into clinical preparation right now. So a summary on the right-hand side here, the positive results from 001 in the human challenge study. We saw a significant reduction in P38 MAP kinase-driven cytokines. So again, dampening or blunting that immune response, which was terrific to see. So again, it's important that the drug works in humans. We've demonstrated that. So we've seen this both in a systemic setting and in a local setting. So we're seeing the drug work both systemically. You take it orally and it gets all over the body and blocks the cytokine response as required. And there's a dose-response relationship, always nice to see. So that helps us plan forward for partnering and what dose of drug we'll use for phase 2 and beyond. So we have a good understanding of that as well. And I'll share a little bit of data on that shortly. Importantly, it's well tolerated across all doses, so there was no patients withdrew from this study. Always good to see that. And now we have a comprehensive data package to be shared with potential partners. And this is the clinical study reports, statistical analysis, etc. So that's all in hand and moving forward. And again, delighted to see that such positive data from that. This is just a summary cartoon of the direction that we're taking in as the CRS, cytokine release syndrome. You see on the left-hand side what triggers this. Our immune system is always on alert, but sometimes it gets kind of overexcited in the presence of a trigger. On the left-hand side, we see severe influenza can trigger this hypercytokinemia or cytokine storm, driving the immune response. And the immune response is trying to do its job to clear a virus, or it's trying to do a job to clear a pathogen. And sometimes it goes above and beyond and actually creates a cytokine storm that causes more damage than the actual virus does. So we're trying to get into that space because P38 is a key driver. So we're looking at other viral infections as well. We're looking at cell therapies and immunotherapies. And as I say, moving forward in the CAR T cell space would be very exciting for Poolbeg and of interest to pharma partners as well, because this is a known and recognized side effect from this treatment. You'll see on the right-hand side just an explainer that the immune cells are activated. You'll see further cytokine secretion, more immune cells are activated, and you have this downward cycle where when you have too many immune cells activated, too many cytokines, it causes tissue breakdown and organ damage. And what we're seeing here is a POOL001 will block that activity and allowing the immune system to come back to baseline and again be ready and primed and prepared for another infection and not having caused the damage by being overexerted or overexpressed. This is just a slide summarizing the data from, I wouldn't say summarizing, it's just a snapshot because we have a lot more data besides this. But what this shows us is that POOL001 is working. It's effective, it's hitting its target, it's blocking its target. And ultimately on the left-hand side, we're seeing a systemic setting. So you take it orally, and when you challenge with LPS, your immune system is triggered. But what we're seeing here over 3 different doses. So in the gray bar here, the gray line is placebo, so that's no drug on board. And we're looking at the response of TNF alpha, which is a cytokine, again, as a major cytokine in the immune response. And we're seeing that very high expression levels. What we're seeing here, this is the 30 mg dose, so the lowest dose we used. And again, very excitingly, what we're seeing the middle and high dose, we're seeing a complete blunting of this TNF response. So you're seeing the immune system being essentially quenched or calmed down by the use of POOL001. Again, that proof of principle, that proof of concept. So again, that's in a systemic setting. And as I said, TNF is one example. We're seeing this across other cytokines, including interleukin-6 and interleukin-8 as well. So we can share that data at a later time. On the right-hand side, then, we're also looking at this localized immune response. How does the drug get to the localized setting, again, through kind of oral delivery. And what we're seeing here, again, you'll see the 3 different doses. This is in a skin kind of blister biopsy. And you're seeing the low, the middle, and the high dose here that, again, you're seeing this kind of dose-dependent blunting of the immune response. And again, importantly here, looking at the highest dose, 150 mg. This is in an imaging study. You're seeing on placebo, lots of inflammation on here. And again, you're seeing a quenching or a dampening down of that inflammatory response at the highest dose here. And that's, as I say, in a skin blister setting. So very excited to see that data. And again, very promising for the drug itself. These are the addressable markets. We mentioned severe influenza. Again, significant unmet need here. 3 to 5 million cases every year. 500,000 influenza-related deaths. And again, the antiviral market in particular, which comes before severe influenza, there's a 2 billion market size. So again, we're going to be moving into a clear space, actually. So there'll be nothing else in the space that we'll be moving into. And again, this is the same drug, 001, looking at oncology. And CAR T has been revolutionizing the approach to liquid tumors, lymphomas, and leukemias of late, and moving into solid tumors in the years to come. But again, we're looking at a €6 billion market here. And again, there's significant side effects by the use of using CAR Ts. You are seeing these cytokine release syndromes and suffering from the patients. We believe that we can, as an adjunct, as a companion therapy, we can suppress that response, allowing the drug to work without these unwanted side effects. So again, very excited for 001, the role that they can play. POOLBEG, again, we pride ourselves on advancements, on advancing our science, advancing our data, understanding our data. We have, as mentioned, 2 collaborations in the artificial intelligence space. And again, this is the new wave where the industry is looking to AI to take data sets. Number one, to kind of shorten the time to identifying targets, identifying drugs. And number 2, getting drugs onto the market at a higher probability of success. Because again, there's a lot of attrition in the space, there's a lot of failures. But what this does, it's a greater chance of success in identifying validated targets and validated drugs. So with our collaborations with 1-3 and ZeroOne, we're taking these approaches. Again, they've got terrific platforms to analyze the unique data set that we have. We license from our colleagues at hVivo. Clean data, which gives us greater precision and enhanced accuracy. And I think from the challenge data, we know when an infection has started, we know how the immune system is responding, we know timelines all the way along, and it's terrifically clean data. And I think it's of interest to pharma as well. Our recent conversations at the various partner meetings, we were at Bio Europe last November, JP Morgan in January, Bio Europe again in Basel last week. So again, very intrigued with data that we had and the outputs from there. So we're moving that forward as well. So I mentioned on the bottom 1-3, looking at RSV, moving down to lab-based validation now next, and ZeroOne coming to the end of that collaboration, identifying novel drug targets for influenza. So both companies have done a terrific job. So again, very excited to see that, pushing the boundaries of science, pushing the boundaries of drug development to look for new drug targets and new drugs in those spaces. A bit more detail on these 2 collaborations. And I do want to emphasize on the left, the speed that we've been working at. Again, as a company, where we have this urgency in-house that we're pushing forward, signing a contract with 1-3 in February of last year, building a model quite rapidly with the data sets we provided, identifying drug targets in November, ultimately giving us potential drug candidates in December. And now we're rolling forward to test these in vitro setting, again, to determine which drugs we will move forward with and potentially with partners early once we get that in vitro validation. So, graph on the bottom, I always like to show a data slide if possible. But what we're seeing here is a particular gene of interest over the time course of disease. In the purple bars is being overexpressed or increases expression as the disease progressions, comes back down. So again, a very good candidate gene target here, a protein target that we can go after in a disease setting. And a reminder about RSV. I know our heads have been turned for the last 3 years on COVID, but RSV has been around for quite a while. There's 120,000 deaths in children under 5, most vulnerable, 177,000 hospitalizations. And the cost in hospitalizations in the US alone is over $1 billion. So they're always looking for new programs to treat in RSV, and we think we'll be able to come up with interesting drug candidates there. Moving on to influenza data set that we have. Again, ZeroOne, you can see on the left, already partnered with the likes of Pfizer, with Roche, with Merck and Sanofi, big guys, big companies who like the ZeroOne approach. We've been collaborating now. This time last year, we signed our contract. They built the model and optimized it by November. And again, very shortly, we're expecting the outputs from that collaboration. Again, very unique data sets that they're working with. And you'll see, again, that they're able to profile gene expression across the various course of disease and take it back to which genes are being expressed by what cell types. Again, a very unique approach they have. Now I understand whether it's B cells or T cells or macrophages, whatever immune cell is expressing these genes. That will help us identify drugs to move forward with. And on the right-hand side, again, an example of some genes that are upregulated day 2 post-infection. So again, nobody else has this data set, so excited to move that forward. The oral delivery platforms, again, just a quick minute on these. We, on the left-hand side, looking at oral vaccines, again, back to our history in infectious diseases. It's fine, we've all gotten our vaccine injections over the years, but converting these into oral is an unmet need. It's a desire for farmers, a desire for governments around the world. It triggers a mucosal immunity, which again helps block infection, not just suppressing the infection, but actually blocking it at the gates, as it were. So we have a consortium with Anabiotechnologies, University College Dublin, Trinity College Dublin, funded by the Irish government to move that forward and generate some programs that are clinical ready within a 3-year timeframe. And in our discussions with Anabio, they talked about moving an oral GLP-1 program forward with the same platform. So we got very interested in this because We have expertise in around the rest of SAB with Professor Brendan Buckley in the diabetes space. And we felt this is an exciting program. We can move this forward. We get early human clinical data, so we're moving this forward quickly. We're doing clinical planning right now, and hoping to generate human data very rapidly to generate an proof of principle again in an oral setting that delivering GLP-1 to the gut. And this is a huge market. Metabolic diseases linking to obesity, as you see here, that there's a billion people globally are considered to be obese, and 500 million diabetics, and each of these can be potential patients for an oral GLP-1. You can see GLP-1 sales are dramatically increased. Normally, these are given by subcutaneous injection. There is an oral program on the market, but in our discussions with the pharma companies in this space, they're very intrigued. Everybody's looking for a better oral drug. So again, having human clinical data, we see that that'll be rapidly partnerable if we're able to deliver the drug as orally and into the gut and see a response, a glucose tolerance test response. So again, very exciting space, large markets, great interest with pharma, perfect for Poolbeg. The other programs, again, just very briefly as we head to our 20 minutes presentation, we in-licensed POOL002 from the University of Warwick, late preclinical, really exciting preclinical data here, showing the suppression of influenza, but other respiratory viral infections as well. So it's both prophylactic, you can give before, and therapeutic, you can give after infection. So again, moving that forward, we see this as potential too for non-dilutive funding. So we're looking into that space as well to take that forward. But again, very exciting data set. Potential to being pandemic preparedness as well. Having this stockpiled, and again, exciting that it's beyond influenza into other respiratory viral infections. And then we have 003, a collaboration with University College Dublin. Again, I mentioned earlier on, there's no vaccines available to this disease. It is spreading due to global warming. 54% fatality is quite stark and frightening. And the Center for Disease Control in the US see this as a tier 1 select bio-threat agent. So they too are looking for programs to fund in this space. We see this as a non-dilutive funding option. My last slide then, just to summarize who we are, where we've come from, where we're going. Again, we see this as a very unique business model insofar as having a portfolio of programs that we bring forward, put them into the clinic, and once we have the human proof of concept data, we partner. Again, we see this as a very cost-effective R&D approach, as evidenced by our cash balance of 16.2 million. We're very, as they're managing the spend very well, getting the biggest bang for our buck, or euro, or pound, to get that clinical data rapidly and begin partnering. And of course, supplementing with non-dilutive funding. The markets we're targeting are huge. We started with infectious diseases, which is, you see here, 250 billion by 2025. CAR T expansion, again, very exciting area that's only going to grow. And removing, as I said, the CRS or the side effects from CAR T will be of benefit to patients undeniably. And then lastly, GLP-1, again, a huge market, diabetes, metabolic diseases, obesity, etc. So 150 billion by 2031. The team has been fantastic. As I said, 20 months on the go. We've pushed forward all of our programs in license and valuable programs, clinical data we've just read out, very exciting. But as I say, we're not stopping there. This is a platform. And on the right-hand side, these are the multiple near-term value inflection points we envisage over 2023 and beyond. Looking for the drug targets from our collaborators at Cytoreason, kicking off the DTIF-funded oral vaccine program with our consortium, getting the outputs from the lab-based validation from the targets identified by 1-3, starting the GLP-1, the oral GLP-1 trial, again, talking to a clinical trial site this week, and getting things moving there from a protocol design, etc. standpoint. We mentioned previously our colleagues at UCD have other vaccine candidate antigens, and we're doing our diligence on those as they progress in the lab and seeing which ones we feel have value and bringing those forward. And then later this year, as I say, the CAR T trial, we're doing the enabling activities already started. So we've selected a site in the UK that we're more than likely going to go with. So excited with the collaborators there. And of course, ultimately, the proof of the pudding for the company is in partnering. We've have multiple discussions over multiple partnering events. April, May, June is going to be very busy with other partnering events like BioTrinity and indeed Bio in Boston, the largest biotech partnering conference. So looking forward to attending those, sharing our new data, our AI data, etc. And as I say, kind of the monetization is key for the success of the company, and we're looking forward to reporting on that at the right time. So again, very exciting to have a company, a lot accomplished, a lot too accomplished, But again, we're excited and motivated to move the company forward in that direction. So again, appreciate your time this morning, and we're happy to take questions as they come through.
Jeremy, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated on the top right-hand corner of your screen. Just while the company take a few moments to review those questions submitted today, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Jeremy, as you can see, we have received a number of questions throughout today's presentation, and thank you to all investors for submitting their questions. Could I please ask you to read out the questions and give responses where appropriate to do so, and I'll pick up from you at the end.
Sure thing. Happy to do that. I'm just looking new questions coming through. James C. Hi, Jeremy. Can you give more detail on when you believe a partner will be signed up for developing 001 and a very ballpark idea of how much Paul will be given for signing the partnerships? A great question, but I will say impossible to answer. We have discussions in parallel with multiple parties. There was discussions around, as I say, there was waiting around when the LPS data would be released. Now we have that in hand. We'd be sharing that with partners. We do have a data room open with a number of parties in there reviewing that. And when it comes to financials, again, we're very difficult to predict because some deals could be just territorially specific. We've mentioned before some deals might be severe influenza specific. The whole program is an option as well. So we're in the kind of making progress in the diligence side of the house, let's say. And so we'll update the markets as we make significant achievement on signing a deal. Again, the team is aligned and motivated to get that done. So as having data in hand is terrific for that. Just looking now, I think this is a kind of a repeat question for that. What's the next key piece of news flow we should look out for? I think I addressed that in the slide. I can go back to this. But as you see here, the multiple near-term value inflection points. I think that there's, as I say, the near term will be the side of reason, the outputs from the influenza collaboration we have. Again, looking for new drug targets out of there. That'll be very interesting. Kickstarted the consortium again. We're very excited to get that going because we have a terrific group in place. We've got exciting technologies to combine, and ultimately the success will be of benefit to everyone. So great value there. And again, the other, as I say, we're a clinical stage company. I'm very excited about our progression of further programs into the clinic. And I mentioned about transitioning 001 over to CAR T treatment as well. Again, very novel scientifically, very interesting scientifically. And I think when we talk to our principal investigators in the clinical trial sites, very excited to test this program. Again, they treat patients on a daily basis, and they see the side effects. So if there's anything there to benefit, they see that there'll be great, let's say, excitement. There'll be great interest in using 001, POD 001 in a CAR T setting, and of course oral GLP-1. A bit of a departure, but as I say, we're collaborating well with our colleagues at Anabio. We see the benefits of the technology. We've seen the potential use or application for oral GLP-1, and in our discussions, high level discussions with pharma about here's what we're thinking, here's what our approach. They're very keen to see the data from that as well. It's all data driven, so I think it's exciting times for the company. Just looking here, what's your budgeted cash burn for this year? I think our CFO Ian is here. I know we'll be kind of we've announced the reports this morning. Again, we're very kind of modest from a cash burn standpoint. Judicious is the word that I use frequently, which maybe there's a better word out there. But I say everything is scrutinized, and everything is as I say, we do kind of again, very active board, that everything is verified and validated for that. But we've a long cash run of 16.2 million in the bank. I think we've got a very long runway. Then will be supplemented by partnering.
Jeremy, thank you. And I think you've addressed all those questions you can from investors. And of course, the company will review all questions submitted today, and we will publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. Perhaps before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to yourself and the company, could I please ask you for a few closing comments?
Yeah, no, I'm delighted. Again, appreciate the confidence the investors have in Poolbeg. I think it's been I'd say a choppy time for investors over the last 12 months, choppy waters, but I think we've sailed through it very well. We've been very focused. We've hit our objectives. We've hit our timelines. Again, motivated and to build on this. We see this as a foundation or a platform, but we've a long ways to go. But again, very excited about what we've done so far, and I think very exciting time for the company as we move forward into other clinical programs. As begin our partnering activities, continue our partnering activities in earnest. As I say, lots of activity this year in the partnering space. So again, appreciate everyone joining this morning, and as you say, if there's additional questions, happy to those offline.
Jeremy, thank you for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of POOLBEG Pharma PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. Good morning to you all.
Thanks again.